I can listen no longer in silence. I must speak to you by such means as are within my reach. You pierce my soul. I am half agony, half hope. Tell me not that I am too late, that such precious feelings are gone forever. I offer myself to you again, with a heart even more your own than when you almost broke it 8 years and a half ago. Dare not say that man forgets sooner than woman, that his love has an earlier death. I have loved none but you. Unjust I may have been. Weak and resentful I have been, but never inconstant. You alone have brought me to Bath. For you alone I think and plan. Have you not seen this? Can you fail to have understood my wishes? I had not waited even these 10 days, could I have read your feelings, as I think you must have penetrated mine. I can hardly write. I am every instant hearing something which overpowers me. You sink your voice, but I can distinguish the tones of that voice when they would be lost on others. Too good, too excellent creature, you do us justice indeed. You do believe that there is true attachment and constancy among men. Believe it to be most fervent, most undeviating in F.W. I must go, uncertain of my fate, but I shall return hither, or follow your party as soon as possible. A word, a look, will be enough to decide whether I enter your father's house this evening, or never. And that, of course, was Captain Wentworth's letter to Anne Elliot in Persuasion by none other than the amazing Jane Austen, one of the best letters in literary history. And that is what today's announcement is all about. In January, some of my friends and I are going to be co-hosting a wonderful challenge that I am so excited about called Epistolary January. And we are focusing on all epistolary books in our reading challenge. And we have this fun little bingo board that you can print out that will be linked below in the description box, and has 8 different prompts plus a free square in the middle of all different types of epistolary letters for you to choose from and enjoy. Before I go any further, I just want to share with you the names of the wonderful other channels that are co-hosting this with me, and that is Cheryl at Candlewick Library, and Jeanette at Jane Reads, Kelly at Kelly Reads a Lot, and Miriam at Miriam Elizabeth Reads. And we are all so excited to be reading epistolary novels in January and sharing them with you, and perhaps encouraging you to pick up an epistolary novel if you have never read one and or think maybe you don't like them. This can be the month to try. You can read one, or you can read all of them. You can read one book that covers multiple prompts, or you can read an individual book for each prompt if you are feeling really into epistolary novels, which I just may try to do. I don't know. I haven't made my January TBR yet, but I'm thinking I could find a book for each of these prompts, so we'll see. For now, I'm going to go over the list of prompts that we have made for you and just give you one suggestion from books that I have read that I can recommend to get your mind started thinking about possible options. But later on this month, I will have another video with a lengthier list of suggestions and recommendations and books that I will be considering for my own TBR. To start with, our first prompt is love letters. And this, of course, is an epistolary romance. And there are many options for this one, but the one that I am going to suggest is Daddy Longlegs by, oh dear, I forget the name of the author who read it, Jean Webster maybe? And it is an epistolary romance. It is the letters between two people, a young college student and a young gentleman who is sponsoring her college education. And over the course of time, they fall in love, not just through means of the letter, but I won't say any more in that, but it is written entirely in letters. So that's a classic that you should be able to find pretty readily. It might even be on Project Gutenberg. I'm not 100% sure about that. But anyways, I haven't looked it up, but that is a fun one if you haven't read it yet, or if you haven't really tried epistolary novels. It's not that long, and it's really highly amusing and entertaining and very easy to read. So it's a really great example of the epistolary genre. And then the next category is Lost Mail. And that is a classic or a book by an author no longer with us. So you'll probably land on it being a classic novel. And one that I have to suggest for you is The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. And this is another one that I feel like is a fun, easy to read one if you haven't read a lot of epistolary novels. It's short and it's a very interesting and attention grabbing and even occasionally funny. Yeah, it's definitely an enjoyable read, but it's a read that really makes you think as well. It will definitely prompt you to be considering a great many things, possibly in a new light that you had never considered them before. So I highly recommend that one. It packs a big punch for being a smaller book. And then we have free shipping. Everybody loves free shipping, right? And this prompt will be different for everyone. Only you know what books can fit this prompt, because the idea is to read a book that is free to you. So go to the library and check out an epistolary novel that you have never read before, or one that you have read before and you just want to check it out of the library, or get one from a little free library, borrow from a friend. However you get it into your hot little hands, as long as you did not pay money for it, then that counts for that one. And then we have Correspondence. Now this is one that broadens the whole thing. So maybe you might consider, even if you think that you strongly dislike epistolary novels, which is totally fair because many people find the format unsatisfactory for a variety of reasons, and that's totally valid. But this opens it up a little bit, because you could perhaps read actual correspondence between live people, or real people, I should say. They may not be alive anymore. For example, I read several years ago Jane Austen's letters and really enjoyed it. There are other versions of this that are not as comprehensive. They just have selections from her letters. This one is really great if you're a big Austen fan like I am. But that is an idea. You can read actual letters from actual people who lived and or are living. Or, sticking with the Austen theme here, you can read, I think all of Jane Austen's novels contain letters, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Like her unfinished ones, maybe not, but all of the others, I'm pretty sure all contain letters in them. And she is famous for her letters. Originally, most of her books, she started out as epistolary in the first place, and then she restructured them, because at that time, the epistolary format was kind of going out of style. And so she kind of converted them into regular novels, but she still kept some of the letters and included them within the context of the novel itself. So she has some really amazing letters in her books. So any book like that actually contains a letter would fit this one, because it just has to have some correspondence in it between people, fictional or otherwise. And then we have the free square. And then on the other side is Airmail. And that is a book set in a foreign country. And there are a lot of options for that. But the one I want to share with you that I have read is Anne of Windy Poplars, which for me is a foreign country because it is set in, of course, Canada. And Anne of Green Gables, you may not realize that there is an epistolary novel in the Anne series. This is Anne's love letters to Gilbert while she is away at college. And it's just full of like newsy little tidbits about her life there and the people that she meets and the scrape she gets herself into, etc. And it is interspersed with some third-person narrative, but there are letters. I did feel like it was a little bit one-sided because we don't get Gilbert's responses to her, but it's still a very enjoyable read. And it is set not in the United States of America, but in Canada, so that qualifies. Then we have a package, and this one may be the hardest one on the list, because that is to read a book that is at least 400 pages that is epistolary in genre. So those are a little bit harder to come by, but one of my favorites would be The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. And this edition, which has small pages but also very small print, this edition has 429 pages. So it's definitely over the 400 page mark, and it's an enjoyable read. And it is epistolary, but kind of doesn't really read like epistolary. And it's, in my opinion, it's one of the best Bronte books. I really enjoy it. Then we have a journal. And so this is any book that contains journal entries. So the one that I have to recommend that I read most recently is Dracula, which is based largely on the journal entries of a variety of characters. So it's not just one-sided, one person's journal entries, it's multiple people's journal entries. One of whose is an oral journal, like he's recording on a phonograph. So that's really interesting. There are also some letters and other correspondence kind of things in here in addition to the journals, but the narrative is generally carried by the journal entries. And finally, we have email. So obviously that is going to be a more contemporary story set in the past 20 some years. And one option that I can think of for that, so the prompt is to read a book that, rather than being strictly letters of correspondence, it would include email and text or other modern forms of communication. And so one that I can recommend for that is Authentically Izzy by Pepper Basham, which begins mostly with emails, and there's some text messages and text threads as well. There is some third person narrative as you go through the story, as the characters meet in person and transition from just email and text or whatever to a more in-person relationship. That would also fit for the love letters prompt. So that one, and for set in a foreign country, because part of it is set in an imaginary country in Europe. So there are a lot of prompts that one could fill. So yes, if you want to find one book that meets multiple prompts, go ahead and do it. Go for it. Make it your readathon and enjoy it. The whole point of it is to have fun. So let me know in the comments below if you plan on joining with us in this challenge, if there are any epistolary books that you can recommend to others who are watching and haven't read any or very many, and what books do you think you might want to pick up for this challenge. And I will see you next time. Bye.